Hello again, Warden. It is good that you came to speak with me. I realize that my actions at Howe's estate may not have painted me in the best light. For that, I apologize and hope that we can start again. First, let me say that I knew your family. Eleanor, in particular, was dear to me, and what Howe did was unforgivable. How fitting he died at your hands. I will be blunt. I can see that your voice will be a strong one in days to come. It is to you that Eamon listens, and with good reason. My father must be stopped, but once that is done, Ferelden will need a ruler. I would welcome your support for my throne. Do you disagree? You are a fellow Grey Warden. What do you think of Alistair's potential to rule? Never mind his willingness. Alistair seems like a kind, well-meaning man, and biddable enough. These are admirable qualities, if not kingly ones. He also seems to be a fine Grey Warden, which is exactly why he should remain one and serve the kingdom by defeating the Darkspawn. Cailan knew of Alistair. It was Arl Eamon that kept Alistair out of the courts, as Merrick had desired. Oh, there are some who would follow Alistair out of respect for his Teyrn blood. The others would see this as Eamon grabbing for power. Who else do you think Alistair would turn to for help? Eventually, the nobility would return to the old days of constant warring with each other. Alistair's weakness would destroy everything Merrick built. My feelings towards Alistair have nothing to do with it. I barely know him. I simply believe that I am what this country needs. I will fight for what I believe. Would Alistair do the same? Thus, I say again, I would welcome your support for the throne if you would give it. No? You're a Grey Warden. And despite the fact that my father will paint himself as the only one who can protect the country from the Blight, it is not so. Secondly, you saved Arl Eamon from a plot that no doubt had its origins in Hal's sick little mind. People will not forget that. You are competent and powerful, and in the right place at the right time. Used to your advantage, these things could bring you far. That is exactly what I am proposing. When the time comes, you support my bid in the Landsmeet to remain on the throne. You will be seen as my father's enemy, yet you will be in support of his daughter. You will be seen as supporting the interests of Ferelden, as opposed to solely those of the Grey Wardens. In return, I add my voice to yours. Do you see? Together we can do what alone we cannot. He is my father, as well as a great general, who has served his nation well until now. If there is a way for him to live, I would prefer it. I will always be my father's daughter, but even I know he must pay for his crimes. It will not make me glad, even so. Does that affect your decision? Can we yet come to an arrangement? For years, I have ruled this kingdom as Cailan's queen. As much as they loved Cailan, all of the Banon knew this to be so. Cailan was a good man, but what is needed now is not another good man, but a good ruler. I sent Alina here not solely because I thought I needed help, but because I saw an opportunity for us both. What say you then? Your support for mine in the Landsmeet? Ignoring that the man looks so much like Cailan, my recently dead husband, if you'll recall, my main fear is that he might govern like Cailan as well. But it is true that Alistair has Teyrn blood. To some, this is more important even than practical considerations. A union might be considered a compromise, but is this something Alistair even desires? Let me say this. If Alistair is willing to stand back and allow me to continue governing the nation, then I would be willing to have him as my king. It is my understanding that governing does not appeal to him anyhow. If that is so, this is a compromise I can live with. Do you foresee me agreeing to place an untried, unwilling man on the throne otherwise? One whose largest decisions to date have consisted of which shoe to put on first? If it will settle matters more quickly, I am willing to agree to this. But only if it will benefit Ferelden. Do so. I will be interested to hear what he has to say.
My lady, she will be forever grateful, Warden.
So I'm guessing someone told Honora I was planning to steal her throne. She has a nasty glare. Did anyone mention this wasn't my idea? I think she's a great queen. As far as I'm concerned, she's welcome to it. Really? Whatever will give you that idea? Well, it's nice that you think so. What do you think I should do? Go ahead and be king, just to let it happen? Marry her? As in marriage, as in be her husband? You've spoken to her about this? You did, didn't you? Why would you do that? Did you take a blow to the head? That's crazy. I suppose. I don't know how much of a leader I am, but at least I know she's a good ruler. Go ahead, then. Tell her I'll do it if it comes to that. Now, excuse me while I go have a small heart attack somewhere. No big deal, right?
Well, have you spoken to my lucky betrothed yet? Or will we be reduced to passing notes? He has? I wasn't expecting that, to tell you the truth. To marry Kaelin's brother. Well, I suppose stranger things have happened. If it will truly help matters... Is this it then? I agree to marry Alistair to retain my throne, and in exchange I give you my support. If not, then tell me now. Done. So, we have a deal, Warden. I trust you'll keep your end of the bargain. Now, I suppose, comes the task of dealing with my father. That will be no small feat, of course, but I am certain you already know this. I imagine you have much to do. Is there anything else you needed from me? Ask me whatever you like. Well, he was once a farmer when he was a boy, if you can believe it. I never could myself. He's useless with plants, for one thing. I remember my mother once asking his help with a sick rose vine. My mother oversaw the rose gardens personally. He touched it. No more than that. And it shed half its leaves like a dog with mange. She never asked for him to help with her roses again. He bought her another one, though. He carried it back from Denerim with the branches overflowing his saddlebag. Despite the thorns tearing him bloody, he wouldn't let anyone else take it. He wanted to be the one to present it to her. My father has his faults, Warden, but he is far from common. I hope not, but I fear it is so, yes. I'm not sure. I had no inkling of my father's plans until Caelan was already dead. I would like to think that my father planned for the worst, but did not truly decide that Caelan was a lost cause until that moment in Ostagar. The alternative is difficult to imagine. Trust would perhaps be putting it too strongly. My father knew what Howe was, and while I despised the man, I knew that father relied on his political mind. I expect my father thought himself above being influenced by the snake. Truly, I wonder how many of these acts stemmed from Howe and not my father at all. We may never know. Because he believes he is right, Warden. He thinks he is the only one who can see Ferelden out of its current crisis, even if it is one he helped engineer. My father is capable of remarkable blindness, but it stems from his love of Ferelden. That is the saddest part of all, I think. Ask me whatever you like. Of course it does. Do you think me heartless? But how much worse would I be to calmly stay at the side of a man who murdered my husband? It seems a strange word to describe a marriage our parents arranged when he was newly born and I still in swaddling clothes, but yes, I loved him. He was reckless, impetuous, and charming. Had he not been king, he would have made a dashing rogue for a band of players. We were a good pairing. He would not have wanted the burden of ruling any more than I would have liked to remain the silent wife in my husband's shadow. It was more than just my own loss, but I thank you all the same. Caelan was so idealistic. The world was his storybook and he was the hero. My father is different. He's an idealist too, but he knows what idealism costs. They often clashed, but never seriously, never for long. Caelan would always come round to father's way of thinking eventually, and then the Blight came. Caelan dreamed of uniting all the nations of Thedas against the Darkspawn. It was a dream he wouldn't surrender. What my father saw, however, was the boy he had swaddled inviting Orlesian troops back into the land he had fought to free of them. And for once, my poor, foolish husband wouldn't back down. They would not believe it, most of them, even from my lips. Loghain is the hero they've looked up to their whole lives. Far easier to believe you or me a liar than him a murderer and tyrant. That's why it will be critical to find some way to discredit him before the Landsmeet. We must have proof of my father's crimes for the bands, or they will never believe us. Ask me whatever you like. Do you want me to try my luck at fortune-telling? There was an old woman who read palms in the village of Gwarren when I was a child. She told me that I would have 10 children and be bald as a winter heath when I grew up. I can't say I put much faith in foretelling. What will happen depends much on you, Warden. But you certainly knew that already. Then I wish you luck, Warden.
Warden, let me know if there's any assistance I can give you. We have much to do and little time. My hearing must be going. I could swear you just said that Alistair and Honora agreed to marry. Of course, but I hardly imagined that you could convince her so readily. I am impressed. This alliance can only help us. Well done, my friend. We need to do all that we can in the few days left to us before the Landsmeet.